Hello and welcome to Be Indie Now, a podcast about independent game development. I'm your host, Tobiah Marks, and with me today is Mark Barrett.
Hey, what's up?
So, Mark, why do you want to make games?
What do I want to make games?
Yeah, what motivates you to make games versus, I don't know, movies, stories, poems?
That is a great question. I don't know that I have a perfect answer other than I can tell you I have to make games. Uh, it's just what I think about when I'm not thinking about anything since as long as I can remember.
When did you first start to think about making games? Was it something from a little kid?
Yeah, I would say since we had our Atari 2600 and I was playing Pong and Tank, uh, Pac-Man and Pitfall,
Mm-hmm.
I would just draw those pixels and try to come up with new games using like our board games and the toys that we had around the house. And then I would have my brothers and sisters come and play those games. And I just never stopped.
So when did you start taking it seriously as a career? Was it when you were looking for colleges, you wanted to go to art school and make games, or was it more that you were following the art and that kind of led you towards games?
Well, I started taking it serious. I don't know. I was pretty serious always, but in high sophomore year, I started to think, okay, pretty soon I'm gonna have to do something for 6 to 8 hours a day for the rest of my life in order to feed and shelter myself. And
At least that's the standard way.
yeah, well, it's not a standard way, especially if you grew up. I'm from Wyoming, which is um, not a lot in the way of entertainment industry out there.
Yeah.
And and I just thought, what do I do the most? What would I do if no one was paying me to do it? And I draw all the time, and I play video games all the time. And other than that, I sleep, and I don't know if you can get paid to sleep or eat, but if
Not
you
on a
can,
full-time basis.
obviously, sound pretty sweet. But yeah, so I kind of decided that. I read an article in a magazine. Actually, let me give you an even better answer. What prompted that thinking was I think it was an EGM that I was reading. There was a write-up about the school called DigiPen,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked like a magic place. And I think seeing those pictures and kind of reading about it made me realize that the people that make games, were kids like me at one point, and that you learn how to do it and then you do it. And I thought I could learn how to do it. And originally I thought that I had to learn everything. I thought I had to learn how to do programming and sound and drawing and animation. And uh, I very quickly realized that I was not a great programmer because the only class in high school I ever failed, Cubase Intro to C, I can't remember, but my teacher at the end of the year came up to me and she felt kind of bad because she was failing me, and she said, I think, Mark, you could have done a lot better if you weren't drawing so much all the time. You drew all over every assignment. I don't think you were really paying attention. And that was kind of a wake-up call. I was just like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go the other way. Maybe I won't do everything, but maybe I can do the art and animation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's good to know both. I know a lot of jack of all trades, and they can do well, but there's a lot to be said about someone who can do a lot of depth into one particular skill. And even something as art and animation is such a broad category in itself. There's so many different kinds of art.
It is, yeah. That's wonderful. And like now I am learning how to Unity and Game Maker. I don't know if it's actually learning how to code or not, but it seems like
Both those count. I mean, especially a GameMaker has its own scripting language, and that absolutely counts as code. But Unity just uses normal C# and JavaScript, so that's absolutely coding.
yeah. Part of it also, when I was taking coding, she was trying to teach us how to make accounting software and things like that. Things that she thought would be useful in the future. And I just would ask her every day, like, how do I make a line move across the screen? How do I make a ball roll? And she just wasn't interested in those things. And so uh, and video games weren't nearly as popular as they are now. So she
It's funny
definitely,
to think about that because,
yeah.
like, if you think about how many jobs are available making accounting software and how
Right,
many jobs there are making games,
right.
it's
Well,
way
yeah,
more practical to be a
yeah,
game programmer. There's more jobs out there. There's more career opportunities,
yeah,
especially in that's even before the whole app revolution, right? Like that's a whole nother aspect. But just even 5-6 years ago, there was still way more games than there were number of accounting softwares.
yeah,
Now, how well they pay, how stable those jobs are, what the 401k benefits are, that's a whole different argument.
yeah. All I know is I'm glad I failed, because it was a lesson in what I actually wanted to do.
So how old were you that you were in high school?
Yeah, I was probably 14, 15 around there.
So you started college around 18 normal time?
No, actually, I went to a junior college for a couple years to get the basics out of the way on the cheap side.
Mm-hmm. It's always smart to get out some prereqs, be a lot cheaper, yeah.
Right, yeah, and he is really, really good at programming, and so we sort of thought we would do the brother double team, and so I was gonna just wait for him, and then we were gonna go to DigiPen together. We made a plan once we read that article to go there, and we both got in, and we both went there. And today I'm a lead artist on Plants vs Zombies 2 at PopCap, and he is a lead designer on Republic for camouflage games here in Seattle.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. we we did it.
It's a good
Well, we haven't worked together yet, but
it's a good flash forward there, but let's rewind a bit. So you went to DigiPen.
we did. Yeah.
How did you like that experience?
Woo! How did you like that experience?
I, I don't know. Like I've heard actually some people say a lot of positive things. I've heard a couple people say some negative things.
Well, that's the thing. It is what you make of it. But I'll be really honest. I wanted to have a job in games when I left that school, and so I worked, no joke, 80-hour weeks pretty much the entire time I was there, except for maybe senior year. Um, I really, really pushed myself, and the school pushed really hard back. And just learning everything is tough, or I guess not learning everything, but excelling at everything is really tough. And my brother actually, after about 2 years, he just burned himself right out. And there was we were just in an office building, 90 male. So we definitely didn't have the traditional college experience, and I think we missed a lot of life experience. But as far as honing our technical abilities, it was excellent. Um, so I think, and just I got an internship to Nintendo Software Technology in Redmond through DigiPen, and that's kind of where I got my foot in the door. And I worked there for 2 years as I was going to school. And
That must have been a really good opportunity.
oh, now that was a crazy good opportunity, and a dream come true, honestly. Um, and and I met a lot of people there who went on to be very successful, and in teachers and people who are connected to the industry. So it was also extremely useful for that. And then the last most important thing I think about DigiPen is that the artists and the programmer are an invaluable experience, kind of getting to see how to communicate with the other half.
Hmm. I really like that DigiPen forces their students to make games, encourage them to submit to the
Yeah.
festivals. I
Yeah.
think that is core to why DigiPen students have excelled in so much. You can find them all
Yeah.
throughout the industry. Is
Yeah.
because they really, really encourage people to actually not just do theory, not just make a prototype and leave it on their hard drive, but get something and then take that extra step to get it out in front of other people.
Well, they encourage them. That's a nice way of saying you won't pass the class if you don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Uh,
how you encourage as a college student, right?
right. And honestly, one thing that I really like about DigiPen in that regard is it's real, you know. You have a deadline, and you have to meet that deadline. Or there's is a view that it was also beneficial in that I've never worked in the actual profession of making games one day nearly as hard as I worked almost every day of DigiPen. So it pays off, and I was extremely lucky to get a scholarship that covered a lot of the financial cost of it. I still had 50K in student loans uh, to recover on my own, but I know a lot of other people had much steeper uh, repayments, and they're probably still
Yeah,
doing.
college can be really, really expensive now. The price is just going astronomical.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Like that's the thing, and the DigiPen has gotten more and more and more expensive, and I almost think uh, it's not worth.
Yeah, and the worst part of those loans is just like the more you have to loan, you're paying way more.
Yeah, an artist or a designer. I mean, if you were a lawyer or a doctor coming out, then that's a worthwhile debt to take on. But you graduate into a 40 or 50K job just starting out. Even if you're a great student and you get 60 or 70, it's going to take you a while, and you have to be really aggressive about that too.
Yeah. So I imagine with your internship experience, you had these projects. Like, how hard was it for you to find a job after graduating?
It was a very scary time, actually. Uh, the industry was going through kind of a big change as I was graduating in
What year is this?
2008.
Okay. Yeah, that was a big pivotal moment right there. I graduated in 2009 myself, and that's right when I started my company making mobile games.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a perfect parallel to what I'm saying is just like everything that represented the way the game industry was as I was going uh, through school suddenly sort of tipped over and made way for this new kind of gaming. Um, and a lot of companies were laying off a lot of people, and jobs were pretty difficult. Of my class of 80 people, uh, 20, 20 something of us graduated, and of those 20 something, maybe 15 still work in the video game industry.
That's still a pretty good percentage.
Is it?
I don't know, like
It's kind of brutal.
it's pretty brutal. I've seen a lot of numbers about how many people, A, don't even finish their degree, and then B, once they get a degree, don't necessarily have success with it. It's kind of it's sad that my reaction to that's a good percentage, but I've seen much worse.
Mm, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. A lot of people want to do this, and there is a limited pool of jobs, but I think it's growing.
Oh yeah, I mean it's growing crazy because
Right.
the mobile revolution has really just sparked so many new game development companies, and we're getting to the point where a lot of those companies are maturing now and hiring others. So not only do you have this ability to be an indie developer that didn't exist before, but now these indie developers are kind of becoming the medium tier. What do you call them? Double A developers.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's very, very exciting. I love it.
So were you able to get a game job right out of college? You had to take a non-games job.
When I got out of college, did I have to take a non-games job?
Yeah. What was your first job out of college?
Yeah, this is great. This is a good story. Well, the day I graduated is the day I quit Nintendo, and that was just for personal reasons. I just wanted to grow, and I thought I could stay very comfortable at Nintendo and work there for a long time, and I just wanted to put myself in sort of an uncomfortable situation. So right out of college, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but I decided to go to work for myself, and I was doing freelance work, and I did well. It was just really hard and really lonely. And, sometimes you get lazy and do something and work any hour of the day.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Me and a friend graduating college were like, man, getting a job is hard. We should just go like make our
Yeah.
own thing, make a company, and then we'll have industry experience that we can then sell ourselves with, and then get a good job 6 months from now. And
Yeah.
then suddenly this mobile thing started blowing up, and what turned into a resume building side projects became full time career for me.
Yeah, that is cool. That is
Were you getting a lot of these mobile companies like commissioning artists? Like, who were your clients for freelance?
they were concept art studios, and then I had a commission to do a children's book, and that got canceled about halfway through, and I eventually decided that freelance was maybe more taxes and all that kind of stuff. Then I decided to go work for a startup mobile company, a team of 3 guys. I joined a small company called Robot Superbrain and worked on some really small, fun titles that I never would have considered. I always imagined I would end up in AAA, but this turned out to be the best thing I ever did. It was so much fun. We put out a few games, Horatio's Ice Cream Parlor, and a game called Sly Q, SLY-Q, and then a game called Globall, which is GLO, I think hyphen BALL. And the Globall game, that was at the top. It got featured by Apple, and it was kind of in the early days. So it hit the top of the charts for a week, of the whole week that it was.
Pretty exciting.
Oh, it was crazy exciting, especially when you're only 4 people, and the guys were really great. I mean, it was what I dreamed of doing when I was a kid. I got to do a little bit of everything, and I got to help in the design, and I got to make all kinds of choices, and really every decision that I made impacted the game in a very meaningful way because there's not very many people working on it, and that lasted a great while, or it lasted about a year, but that while so it wasn't a great while.
A year is actually
Great
pretty
while
short if you think about it in the
it
terms of
lasted.
careers.
Yeah, so I kind of saw the handwriting on the wall that they were starting to run out of money, and they were that gig went and worked at an art store, a local art store that was close to where I lived. There was something that I'd always wanted to do while I was going to school. I thought, it'd be cool to work at an art store and just kind of talk to art people for a little while. So I worked there for 3 months while I was finding a new job. And that was great because, on my application, I had to write like what my prior pay was for the last 2 jobs that I'd been at. And let me just say, it's significantly more than you make at an art store. And they kind of almost embarrassedly telling me like, so we can't offer you, $60K, but we can offer you $12 an hour. And I know you can't. I'm just working here for the experience. I love art. I love hanging around this kind of play.
Yeah,
For here, if you guys will have me.
that's really smart too. I know a lot of people who kind of get in that rut where, well, I can't really get a job right away, and then they sit jobless, and it's detrimental to the soul to kind of have to sit there and not do anything. It's kind of nice to have something to do, to go out there, earn some money. It's maybe not your goal career income, but it certainly looks better on a resume too.
Oh yeah, you got to pay rent, you got to pay back student loans, you got to have food, and
I mean, outsource sounds pretty fun to me. Hopefully, it was as fun as
it
you
was.
thought.
It's really cool, and it was everything that I hoped it would be. And then that's when a friend of mine said, "Hey, there's a job at PopCap. They're looking for, a guy like you." I read the thing, and I couldn't believe it actually because Superbrain I'd played, and I showed the guys there, and I said, if I could have made any game, I would have made this game. And sure enough, I got a job at PopCap, and they put me right on Plants vs Zombies. I couldn't believe it.
That's great.
Yeah.
What year was this?
Oh goodness, that was 4 years ago. So
Like 2010-ish era.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to think when Plants vs Zombies original came out. It's
I
Probably,
think about 2009.
yeah,
I think so.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been out a long time now. Wow, it's like 5 years.
Yeah, the original was now a while. But I just loved everything about that game. That it was 2D. I love 2D games. That the wild sense of humor and just that I'd never really played anything like that before. And
I sunk so many hours into it. Like I would just put on an audiobook and play.
oh yeah, yeah. No, it had me, man, in every way. Even my little Zen garden. Um, and I think that helped me get the job. I competed against some of my classmates and actually my best friend from school, and I was like, oh gosh, good luck. If you get it, I'll be happy for you. I hope you'll be happy for me if I get it. And he was.
What about your brother? I'm curious. What was he up to at this point?
My brother, what was he do? Oh, he was testing games at Nintendo at first, and then he worked for Snowblind, who got bought out by Warner Brothers. He worked on the Lord of the Rings game, War in the North, and feature for that. He designed that feature, and then then he moved on to Camouflage.
Cool.
Once WB shuttered that studio.
Cool. So you got the job at PopCap.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? Was it like really, really different from going from a small studio to PopCap? I mean, they're kind of, were they owned by EA at that time? When did they get bought?
Weren't. No, let me just say it was like having that indie spirit, but with the solid rock foundation of Bejeweled underneath your feet.
Yeah, basically that just pays for everything they do. They now it's also of PVZ and stuff. It's just they get so much money that we'll release a game when it's done. We'll take forever to make it. We'll not aggressively monetize it. We'll do whatever's fun for us.
Yeah, and fun for the players. In every small detail, that it was just lovingly crafted, and the vibe. I mean, and just the environment. They really, really treated us like golden goose. Just whatever they could do to make us comfortable or happy. I broke both my elbows the first week I was there, actually the third day. And for an artist, it's not a great first move.
How did you break your elbows simultaneously?
Oh man, you don't even want to get into that story. Let's just say I was walking.
You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I broke both my elbows." It's like, wait, those are two different sides of your body. How did?
Okay, well, so if you want to know, I was walking out the back of PopCap down this little handicap ramp that they have at the back, and it was November, so it was chilly. I had my hand coat pocket on the ramp. I don't know if somebody spilled something or if there was a little bit of black ice because it was cold, like I said. I just slipped. My foot went up in the air, and I fell back, and I kind of had enough time to decide if it was going to be my head or my elbows, and I just threw my elbows down.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was a big ouch. It really sucked.
Were you able to continue working, or was it really bad?
I was out for 14 days, but they had started my insurance the day I started on the 2nd of November, and they started it the 1st of November. And they paid me the entire time I was out, and they sent me flowers and they called me, and they were never like, oh, well, maybe this isn't going to work out or anything like that. They totally
you can't hire this artist. He slipped.
For me, and will say I will be loyal to PopCap for a long time, as long as they have that spirit in them, just because they put their good foot forward first for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of love for them, but just from playing their games, but from all the employees I've had conversations with, they've always said great things about their work environment.
Yeah, it really was, like I said, just exactly what when I walked in there, I thought, yes, this is what making games is supposed to be. It's been through a lot of changes. And I don't know, like the good old days might be the good old days, but uh, I never give up hope.
Yeah, so like did the environment change a lot with the, they're no longer being indie, being owned by this giant megacorp? I don't know if you're like shouldn't talk about that stuff.
I don't worry about that. I don't think that they're petty people. But has it changed? Yeah, but I do think it's. I don't think change is bad. I think sometimes change is difficult, and I think sometimes change is just change, and you gotta keep moving. I mean, life is going to do that to you, and I'd say it's been a lot gentler at PopCap than a lot of other places, and for a lot of other people. So I definitely wouldn't complain about it. But it is a much bigger company, obviously now, or part of a bigger company.
Yeah, how many people were on the teams when you started versus people on the teams now?
Oh, well, there were, I think when I started, maybe 6 artists in the building. Well, now there's probably 30 or 40 artists. So it's grown tremendously. We used to the whole studio fit on one floor, and yeah, now we're divided across four.
That's still pretty good though. You got a lot of different
It still
projects now.
is. It still is. That's it.
It's like Bejeweled is still going on. Plants vs Zombies is still going on. Now you have the all different versions of Plants vs Zombies with the sequel and the Garden Warfare shooter game, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, right. Man, when they first showed me the idea for that, I thought, well, this is crazy. Um, but they really did a good job retaining like the humor and the charm of Plants vs Zombies, and
Yeah, it's one of those ideas that's like super crazy, but then when you actually treat it seriously and you actually go through and execute it, it's like, wait, this is actually a really good idea.
yeah,
If anything, just from a marketing point of view, because like the kids want to buy Call of Duty, parents don't want to buy Call of Duty because it's rated M. So you give the same game but with an E rating, and you got tons of sales right there.
that I'm sure that was part of the thought process. But a lot of people, I don't really play Gran Turismo, but I love Mario Kart, and that's kind of how I felt about Call of Duty. I was like, I could never jump in on this game. People are way too serious. This game is honestly kind of depressing in an addictive way, and because yeah, my roommate would just scream at the top of his lungs for hours at that game. And I think like we kind of just wanted to make a Mario Kart style shooter in the vein. They did a really brilliant job innovating on the genre instead of making another space shooter or another gritty real life war scenario game.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
What's the creative feeling like at PopCap? Is it more now that okay, now we have money, we gotta extend PVZ franchise? Or are you guys still trying to really push new ideas? I mean, obviously, Garden Warfare is different, right? Really different.
It's a pretty new idea. We are a publicly traded company, so yeah, we have, of course, lots of investors that we have to make the numbers look good for. But no, we're totally committed to finding and developing the next great thing because you never want to rest on your laurels. We're not playing Bejeweled. And one day they might get tired of Plants vs. Zombies, so you can't just hang out there. You have to always be moving forward.
Hmm.
And they do a good job. They do a very good job at that.
What about yourself? Do you ever continue your own side development, freelancing still, or yours life just all PopCap now?
I do write up my own little projects outside of PopCap, but I haven't gotten serious about them yet. And I just discovered Unity a few months ago, and they're starting to make some of those dreams seem much more graspable than they were previous to me. So yeah, no, I'm starting to get much more serious about that.
What's PopCap's policy like for you doing outside work? Is I know some companies have those clauses that they'll own all the work that you make.
Yeah, they have one of those clauses. Um, I can't remember if I signed it or not. Uh, but from what I hear, so this might not be accurate, but this is you're getting it from me, from what I hear, from what I remember. As long as you don't make it on their machine with their software in their building, uh, and you can prove it, uh, then it's yours. I don't know what happens if you release something and it becomes uber successful. What happens then? But nobody's done it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch the legal battle right now with Carmack for the 3D stuff. Because now,
What's going on? I don't know.
oh, because he was at the SpaceX, and then he's dropping that and doing the Oculus, and there's some whole like moonlighting policy issues going on there, and there's some lawsuits going around. I don't want to speak too much on it because I'm not
Oh,
as informed, but it's a prominent
yeah,
case
right.
that'll be interesting to see legally. It suddenly became relevant
Yeah,
when Oculus got bought for what, $2 billion or whatever. Before that, no one
yeah.
cared. Then suddenly, everyone cared.
And that's exactly it. Like only if you win the lottery is anybody gonna bother you. Like if I made some small thing that made me, $100,000 a year or whatever, EA doesn't care. But maybe if I made something that was 2 billion that looked a lot like something they were making, I don't know. Maybe that'd be different.
Yeah, it's something to definitely look into. You can't just like skirt by those legal things because they won't matter. And then when they do, they really, really matter, and you could be in really big trouble. Or at least you might have a
Right.
really awesome, successful idea, and then it's not owned by you anymore, which would be very sad.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I'll check that. I'll check what my agreement is. It's a good reminder. I need to do that.
So, how did you find out about Unity?
Uh, the funny thing is, I think I heard about it my last year of DigiPen, but it was back in the roughest state. And they came and did a little demo, and it was like a spacecraft flying around this 3D desert. And there was a pyramid, and he was showing us how easy it was to do those things. And I didn't really grasp um, what it would become then, but uh, more recently, just have been for how to make my own games. How to because I have a lot of design ideas, and I can do the art for it, and I can do the animation for it. And what I really want to be able to do is communicate my ideas through prototypes, because right now I'm limited to just making sort of flash animated mock-ups of what the game would look like if you played it, but you
Hmm.
can't actually play it.
Have you ever tried your hand at like a game maker before, or Corona, or any other one of those
Yeah,
toolkits?
yeah, and I've made small. I'm not Corona, but Game Maker, and I've made like small little infinite runner type games and just tests, basically just following tutorials. But now that I've had a little bit more experience with Unity, I feel like uh, I am in the right place to really start making some stuff, especially with the release of Unity 2D, because, like I said, I love 2D games, 3D games, and I know how to do it. But I love two dimensions. I love the limit of it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that there's been a really good resurgence of that. And it's
Yeah,
not just about like, oh, as soon as they're powerful enough, everything will be 3D. But, not everything needs to be 3D. There's some really beautiful 2D games, and there isn't enough AAA 2D titles. There's it is on the mobile platforms, but, I haven't really played a good console 2D game in a while. There's a couple examples, but there's this expectation now that, oh, I have budget, so I can afford to do this massive 3D thing, so I should.
right. Yeah, that happened to the Castlevania series, and it's like if there's ever a game that didn't need to be 3D, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. When I played that on PlayStation, and that was the time where it was like 3D is or taking over, 2D is dead, and then Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Hallelujah! This is what I want to do. And not too far back, I played Dust, and man, yeah, no, I love it. I love using a combination of 2D and 3D, but I like 2D games.
So what does the future hold for you? What are you going to do at PopCap? What are you working on now?
The future's looking pretty bright right now. I'm gonna move off of Plants vs Zombies 2. I've done that for I don't know, over 3.5 years, and time to do something new. And I think they're gonna move me up into what's called Pop Labs, which is kind of the mini indie development studio inside our studio that develops new IP and new projects.
That
And
sounds perfect. Talk about prototyping new ideas.
right, no, and I'll get to work with a lot of different designers, a lot of different engineers. And right now they only have one other artist up there, and I'll be moving up as kind of an artist slash designer. And yeah, I couldn't be more excited about it.
So you've had a pretty successful career. Imagine I gave you a time machine. You're able to go back to, say that kid just graduating DigiPen, or even, after you've lost your job and you're going back to the working in an art store. What advice would you give yourself?
I would say, hey, guess what? You're gonna make it. Um,
You
actually,
just need the assurance that it's all going to work out?
I think I would tell that kid he's got a good head on his shoulders, and just listen to your heart. A lot of people, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and I think if that's all you want is opportunity, then you can easily be led off the path that you actually want to go down. And I was smart enough then to be stubborn, but at the time I was scared to death. Um, and I, yeah, I think I don't know if I'd say anything. I might because I would scare seeing Mark coming over him. But I'd give him a high five. I'd say, "Don't put your hands in your jacket when you're walking." So that you don't fall and break both your elbows. Actually,
Prevent some hardship.
I wouldn't even say that though, because that turned out to be a great experience. Yeah, I'd say just trust your gut. Believe in yourself, kid. You you know what makes you happy, and just follow that.
Yeah, excellent advice. I always like to wrap up the show talking about games we've been playing lately, not just the ones we've been making. I actually have been playing a lot more PVZ2
Oh,
myself.
for you.
I know I'm not going to list that as my game. I just wanted to mention I was doing a lot of travel, and I honestly hadn't done it for, I don't know, like 6+ months since it's been out. I hadn't touched it, and so I was getting into it late. But I guess I was getting into it after it's been more polished up, so I'm getting a more ideal experience. And of course, it's awesome as the original. But the game I was going to pick is
Same.
Carcassonne, actually, because I have been playing a lot of Carcassonne. My girlfriend is really into it. I've been mostly playing the app on my iPad, just because what she has, and we both have iPads, so we play it together. And it's actually probably one of my favorite apps from a design point of view. They did a really good job with the user interface, and there's a lot of different versions of Carcassonne in digital forms out there. And that iPad app, I think, is probably the best example I've seen of a physical game to digital game conversion.
Oh yeah, I have not played it, but I've watched videos of it, and it looks totally beautiful. Um, I I can't get into Carcassonne when I'm playing with my friends because they just crush me every time, and
Yeah, it's one of those games that, if you're
it's sort of
good, you
like
can do so much better than the other
it's sort of where
players.
I'm like, I'm beating me.
You should try some of
Yeah,
the new expansion packs because they have some ones that throw in some randomness or some kind of screw you mechanics that skilled players may not enjoy as much because it adds too much randomness. But
yeah,
for a less experienced player, it adds enough randomness that it will kind of equal things out.
yeah. I need the blue turtle shell for real on that game because it's not fair for me. I mean, maybe it is a fair balanced game, but I've never won it ever, and I've played it probably 30 times. Um,
Oh man, I have it on Xbox 360. There was an achievement to get over like 10,000 points in it or something, and I got that achievement years ago, and I'm still playing it. Like I don't even want to think about how many thousands and thousands and thousands of points I've played in that game. I've probably played it many hundreds of times. iPad,
Um,
Windows Phone, Xbox, of course, the physical game because I'm a nerd like that.
I've been playing. I just finished. I just wrapped up Brothers.
Oh, I love Brothers so much. I was
Uh,
raving about that for everyone I know.
yeah, that was. Everybody kind of raved about it to me too, and what a short, sweet experience. I loved it. Truly loved it.
It's
Um,
so, so beautiful.
yeah, and I couldn't be like a bigger eco fan, and when you get to sit on a bench, I was like, yes, I don't even care. This seems like an homage, and I want that. Um,
Yeah, those vistas are so, so great. And
yeah.
replaying it, you notice all these subtle little things in that world.
Yeah, I need to replay it. I saw a bunch of the achievements that I haven't gotten, and I was like, "What? What is all this other stuff?" So I kind of just ran through it, honestly. I mean, I did stop and sit down and check out the scenery every once in a while, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna give that one another spin. And then on my phone, I've been playing a bunch of Rayman Fiesta Run.
I haven't tried that one out yet. How is it?
Well, I especially love Rayman Jungle Run. That game is as close to a perfect app play wise as possible as far as monetization. I think that they are experimenting with Fiesta Run, and I still think it's really great. In fact, maybe even better now because I can see that for the quality they're offering, they're trying to make money on that, and they're trying to do it the right way. And God, I hope it works. The garbage and these high quality polished games. Man, you gotta purchase some things in those games, otherwise they can't continue. And they definitely upped the push, the number of pushes that uh, the player will see as they're playing to remind them to spend their loans or spend their dollars.
Yeah, all those things are
Uh,
just like, this is just a
yeah,
reminder I want to remove this game, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, it doesn't feel like
Right.
it actually encourages.
Well, it's like they're definitely. It's not perfect, but it's almost as close as you can get because you can play through the whole game for free. The whole game is lovingly crafted and so well done and very, very fun. But at the end of the day, the challenge to me is to play through it without paying, and that only guarantees that they won't make whatever the next Rayman Run game is because they didn't make enough money. So at the end, once I've kind of beat it, I will go back and just buy some things.
I
Just
don't know if that's strictly true, though. A player who is so dedicated to the game, they play it not trying to get money, is not necessarily not earning them any money because you're recommending it to me. You're talking about how much you love that game, and I might try it out now, and then I might tell a friend. I might tell a friend, and because of that chain that's sparked by you, there might be a large number of people who end up throwing $1 their way.
I hope so.
I mean, that's the whole thing with the freemium, right? Because you get less than 3% of the users will ever
Yeah.
do an in-app purchase, and it's all about that. Like 97% of your player base is totally cool with never paying you, or at least that's what the theory is.
Yeah. Yeah, just and as a developer who's worked in that system, it's rough, man. That is true. That is how it works, but it's rough because I can see how hard they worked. Yeah, and then besides that, on the oldies, I've been playing a couple oldies on Super Nintendo. I'm playing Pac-Man Adventures 2, and on my DS, I'm trying out Pokemon Troze, which is a very interesting match game mechanic I've never really seen before. It's kind of a
Interesting.
hardcore match game.
I haven't tried that one yet.
It's
I've
really fun. It doesn't seem like it's made by the Pokemon Company or
It's
I
just
mean,
Pokemon branded but completely different.
Yeah, I think that somebody made a game and then they said, hey, let's put some Pokemon on this. But I don't mind it. It's really fun.
Yeah, nothing wrong with using an existing IP.
Right, right. Yeah, especially when you got something kind of cool that people might not otherwise check out.
Yeah, that Pokemon brand is pretty good. I think people buy that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's easy.
All right, well, for listeners out there, if you want to find more about the show, you can go to beindynow.com where you get past shows, show notes, cool stuff like that. If you want to find more about me, you can go to my blog, which is tobiahmarks.com, where I have hopefully interesting articles. You can learn about game development, cool stuff like that. Or you can follow me on Twitter at tobiahmarks. Where do you have that people can find you, Mark?
I don't know where people find me. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but there's a ton of Mark
Do you have a Twitter account?
Barrett's on Facebook. I'm in the traditions. What?
Do you have a Twitter account?
I do, and I've tweeted, I think, 2 times. But if you want to read my third, then it is Dr. Mark Barrett.
It's pretty cool. I guess you can find your work by playing Plants vs. Zombies 2 and whatever other cool stuff's going to come out of PopCap in the near future.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Hey, man, thank you so much.
And
I love the show, by the way.
That was great. I'm glad someone out there loves it. Go out and make some games.
Cheers.